Do you set New Year's resolutions only to give up on them a couple of weeks or even days later? I've certainly tried and failed at most New Year's resolutions that I've set. So, about 5 years ago, I started using a different strategy that has given me more valuable and actionable information to set myself up for success in the new year. And for the past 3 years, I've been coaching my students on this same process, and they have found it incredibly helpful. So in this video, I'm going to share that strategy with you. And if we haven't met, hello, my name is Crystal Heron. I'm a trained biomedical scientist turned clinical researcher and now scientific and medical editor. And I empower scientists, clinicians, and professional writers to write with intention so they can elevate their work and amplify their impact. So what is this strategy that I do at the end of every year? It's called the past year review, and it's a simple strategy that takes less than an hour to complete. I first learned about this strategy from Tim Ferriss, who is the author of The 4-Hour Workweek, among many other books. And The 4-Hour Workweek is a great book with a lot of insight that still applies more than 15 years after it was published. In case you want to check it out, I'll add a link to the description box. So I've modified Tim's version of the past year review to make it work a little better for me by including more action elements. And that's the strategy that I'm going to share with you in this video. And after you watch this video, I encourage you to make the process your own as well. That is the beauty of this simple process. You can try it and tweak it to work best for you. So let's get to it. To start, get a sheet of paper and a writing utensil. And on the sheet of paper, create 2 columns with the headings positive and negative. Or if you'd like a free Notion template or Word template, you'll find a download link in the description box. And those Notion and Word templates also include step-by-step instructions to walk you through the process. And you can modify these templates as you tweak the strategy to work best for you. So now that you have the tools ready, you can get to the first step. Step 1 is to review your calendar from the past year. So open your calendar and go all the way back to January 1st. Then for each week, review every entry on your calendar and think about the people, the activities, or the commitments that triggered peak positive or peak negative emotions for that week. Then write them in their respective columns on your piece of paper or in the Notion or Word template. Now, you can separate the lists into personal and professional categories if you want, but I tend to just include them all in the same list. For example, in my positive column, I wrote that I have a no meeting day once a week, that I enjoy teaching in my courses and seminars, and that I like to go on adventures with my dog. And then in my negative column, I have bookkeeping for my business, that I didn't attend an event that I really wanted to go to, and that I overcommitted to helping with a project that I wasn't excited about. So this first step is the longest part of the process and will take about 30 to 40 minutes to complete, depending on how you set up your calendar. And once you've done this review, you can move on to the next step. Step 2 is to highlight the leader items. So look at your lists and ask yourself what 20% or so of each column produced the most reliable or most powerful peaks. Then highlight or circle these leader items or add them to the boxes in the Notion template. So for me, I would highlight my no meeting day each week in the positive column and bookkeeping for my business in the negative column. And you might also look for any trends in the items and how you felt about certain events. For example, you might notice that you attended a weekly fitness class for the first 6 months of the year and then only went once a month or even stopped going altogether the rest of the year. Or you might notice that you really enjoyed attending a particular conference, but not attending a different one. Once you finish this step, you can start on the action steps for next year. Step 3 is to prioritize peak positive items. For the 20% or so of items that you highlighted in the positive list, prioritize them and schedule more of them in the new year. In fact, add them to your calendar right now. For example, I have already blocked off all my no meeting days for every week next year so that I don't schedule meetings on that day. Also, you might find it helpful to write down any other steps you may need to take to prioritize your peak positive items. For example, you might need to arrange for childcare so that you can attend the weekly fitness class that you enjoy. Or you might need to find a trusted dog sitter for when you travel to conferences. And once you figure out these steps, add them to your calendar as well or to your to-do list so that you can prioritize getting them done and making it easier to do the peak positive items on your list in the new year. And then you can move on to the last step. The last step is to avoid peak negative items. Grab a sticky note or a piece of paper and create a not to-do list of the peak negative items. Then place the sticky note or piece of paper in a place where you will see it each morning for at least the first few weeks of next year. You know that these items make you miserable, so don't put them on your calendar. Now, I like to create 2 lists, one for personal and one for professional. And then I put my personal sticky note on my bathroom mirror and my professional one in my workspace. And that way I see these items at the times when they might most apply. Now, if you can't avoid an item that makes you miserable, think about how you can outsource it, reduce its frequency, or make it more enjoyable in some way. For example, I don't enjoy bookkeeping, so I might outsource it by hiring someone to do it for me, or I might make it more enjoyable by scheduling some time to do it with a colleague or by treating myself to a pastry afterward. Or if you don't enjoy a certain meeting you have every week, maybe you can have the meeting every 2 weeks or meet every 30 minutes instead of an hour. In fact, I have another video in which I shared some strategies for reducing the time that you spend in meetings. I'll add a link to it at the end of this video and somewhere up here. So there are a lot of ways that you might be able to limit or improve the negative items on your list. And if you're using the Notion or Word template, there is a dedicated space for you to brainstorm some of those ways. So that is the process that I follow for my past year review. And I do it every year, and it takes less than an hour. And each year, I find that my list of positive items grows and negative items shrinks. And it's a great way to notice how you spend your time, what brings you joy, and what drains you. And with that information, you can set your calendar up to prioritize the things that bring you joy in the new year. And if you liked this process, you might like to learn ways that you can prioritize the meetings that you need to go to and avoid the ones that you don't want to go to so that you can spend more time in the new year focusing on the peak positive items in your list. And if that sounds interesting to you, check out the video that I will link to at the end of this video. And if there's something in particular that you'd like to learn more about, let me know in the comments. I create these videos for you, so I want to make sure that I'm creating something that you will find valuable. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you in the next video.